Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast. I'm wearing my shirt tonight that says Be the Light. I hope that Jen and I can shine a little light on y'all's darkness today if you're going through a dark time. Now, Jenn Junod is the host of the Shit You Don't Want to Talk About podcast. She's been on the show before, and now she's back again to dig a little bit deeper into her personal journey. Jen, how are you today?
Well, I like to say people really, especially in the tech industry, which is where I'm at now, really compare like, do you want a zip up hoodie or do you want like a pullover hoodie? And most people want like a zip up hoodie because it's easier to take on and off. And I'm using that as an example of I am wearing my pullover hoodie and I always get them like really snug because when I'm not feeling, we'll go with peppy as a good word. When I'm just like not feeling it, I always put on my pullover hoodie because it makes me feel safer and it makes me feel like more snuggled just walking around. And that is how I'm feeling today, that I need a little give myself kindness and grace and not trying to push myself to have a lot of energy today.
Well, I sure the fuck appreciate you coming on the show before we mashed that record button. You were expressing how you were on the fence about whether or not we should postpone or whatever. You decided to just push through to show people truth. We don't always have our shit together every day. Hell, I went to the weight loss clinic today to get like the one of the weight loss injections, and I decided to keep on my fluffy winter flip flops, just to be like relaxed and shit, which is something a fashionista diva like me has never done before. I even wore them last night to go get a massage. And so sometimes just want to go out the house with fucking roses in your head. Shit, fuck it. Be done with it.
Yes. Yes, I agree. I agree.
And so y'all in today's show, we're going to be talking more about Jen and digging deeper into her mental health issue. In the last show, she talked about like the abortions and the all the abuse and the trauma and the drama, so much drama, that she's been through growing up and what prompted her to start her own podcast, the Shit You Don't Want to Talk About podcast. All that information go in the show notes. And I know she does her Twitter sphere thing.
Space. Yes,
Twitter
Twitter space.
space
Twitter
Twitter
space.
sphere in the Twitter sphere every
Yes.
Wednesday, or I think most Wednesdays. And so
Yep.
be sure to catch her there also. And I look forward to the day when her memoir comes out. I'm just gonna like speak that into existence.
It will. It will. One day.
And so, okay. So I want to get your opinion on this dude who's been really popular in the news. You were so transparent about your abortions and everything last time. Have you heard of everything that's been going on with Herschel Walker?
Y Okay, so I live in, like, a bubble is what I've decided. I don't really know what's going on unless somebody tells me about it, but
Okay.
I'm Googling, and that is the first person that came up.
There is nothing wrong with going to the Google machine and finding out what you need. And so basically this man is running for a Senate seat. He he's one of those backed by Republicans, pro-life, anti-abortion people. And his thing is he's against abortion with no exclusion for rape, incest, anything like that at all, just period. But come to find out, he paid for his own abortions back in the day, has a couple of baby mamas, and he don't take care of the babies, and his own son, who's a social media influencer, can't remember that pretty little thing's name right now, but it'll come to me, came out against his own dad. He was like, "You need to shut this shit down and stop because you fake as hell." And so from the abortion standpoint, because these women are coming out going like, one was like, he wanted me to get the first abortion, so I did, but the second one, I told him to go fuck off, and I decided to keep the kid. And so, I just wonder, like, what you think these women might be going through, seeing the man who wanted them to get the first abortion, lying to everyone, saying, "Oh, I don't remember any of this," but he wrote the check to pay for the abortion and then sent the woman a get well soon card.
It's I actually just listened to our other episode, and interesting timing of listening to that. I talked about how during my first termination, I felt forced, but it's not like anyone could do anything about it. It was a very I had to think about what that kid would have gone through to do it, and I I would say for what this human Herschel doodad is doing, I don't think anyone should go into politics and forget about what they used to do. I personally think if somebody did something fucked up, then they should own it and say, this is why I changed my ways. First off. Second, I can only imagine what it felt like to be paid to go get an abortion. I have been there. And and then third, I think scariest yet is the fact that there are people in wanting to gain power that want to gain ownership of our bodies. And in my opinion, that's the scariest part in the fact that as someone that has like the woman that you used as an example, she said yes to the first one, but said fuck off to the second one. I feel again, this is just my imagination, but I feel like she would be very empowered because she told him fuck off. And that is her taking back her power. And I think it's a very, very complex level of fear when you're the person that caused your trauma has power not only over you, but over others. And I know for myself, it's been like, I don't give a fuck what you did to me, but if you do it to someone I care about, if I see you doing it to someone else, I go into like overdrive of I won't let them feel that way. And I could see some of the women possibly feeling like that, but then also going, I'm glad that I stayed silent because they're so afraid of what might happen to them, what might be taken away, what might be threatened. And there are many, many complexities that I can't even imagine about maybe he's secretly paying some of them and what would happen if they don't get the paycheck anymore. Are they going to be able to feed the rest of their kids?
Mhm.
What would happen if, if they do talk about that they went through an abortion and now they are succeeding in their life even though he forced them to do it? Wouldn't that be controversial for them, saying that they were against it but almost happy they did it? I mentioned this in the other episode that I don't think anyone could imagine what someone else would feel about it unless they went through it, because there's so many complexities that go into this.
Well, you're pretty damn good on postulating and guessing at the complexities. It's like you're able to really, really put yourself in other people's shoes. So that strong level of empathy that you have is why you're such a great host and so great at everything you do, and basically giving the world a big warm hug like you do on a day-to-day basis. Because I hadn't thought about, like what if he was, I mean, he's been lying through the whole candidacy, clearly. But what if he really was paying them? He's saying to the camera, "I don't know these bitches, whatever."
Mm.
But really, he's been bankrolling them, and out of fear, they've kept quiet because there's like a quiet control he's had over him this whole damn time. You never damn know. The thing,
I I do wanna add one other thing just because I also like to go into conspiracy things because I think partly it's very entertaining for myself, is the fact of so for those of you that may be like me that have no idea who Herschel Walker is and is Googling shit, just something that is a very, very uneducated guess could be that if you have a person of color that has been given money and want to set an example, are they doing it and doing it the way that others are telling them to because they want to be able to show that others can do it, even if it disrupts their morals?
Anything's possible, but what most commentators seem to believe is that Herschel is somebody who is mindless enough to be a yes man for the Republican Party if he gets elected to the Senate. Because if you hear him talk, he used to be an NFL player, that he hit his head one too many damn times, and he talks like he still has a fucking concussion. He's just like, well, and so he is the Plato for them. And so that's why, and I agree, that's probably why they have him up there. And the thing is, we wouldn't be judging him for his shady past if he wouldn't have judged the women first. And if he wouldn't be throwing all the women under the bus for for doing this. But what women can't get pregnant by themselves.
That's
And
what I was just thinking. Like you can't do it by yourself. We're not what horse. Wait, star. What are the fishes that like self impregnate themselves? Horsefish.
seahorses, do they?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think about. Seahorses, horsefish. That works too.
I know Godzilla can impregnate himself. He has all the power. So that's why I've always looked up to him. And the other fucked up part, and we're gonna pivot away from politics in just a moment, but this is such a hot button topic right now. The bitches over on, like Fox News and like, the conservative commentators, one of them, I can't remember this hoe's name, but she was all like, I don't care if he had abortions, if he aborts baby eagles on television. He was like, I want to get control of the Senate. And she was like, the women are skanks, but like the Republican Party is like the women are skanks, the women are the trouble, but the men they get forgiven. Oh, he's changed his past. We'll give him a second chance. But the women, but they're like, oh no, that hoe. And the Republican Party isn't even trying to hide this hypocrisy anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I started listening to part of your episode on the cult of Christianity, and that just reminds me there's so much that goes into that, and I yeah, I just agree. Some people are douchebags is all I can say.
D
They're just
bags all the way.
yeah.
Goddamn fucking motherfucking D bags. So talk to me about when you were homeless before.
Ooh, okay. Just you said we were gonna pivot, we're gonna pivot. I don't talk about it much because when I look back, I didn't need to be homeless. That is something that I didn't realize then. If I going back then, so listen to episode 1 to, catch yourself up on my story because I'm not going to repeat it all. It takes forever. I was, let's see, I was sexually abused from my cousin from the ages of 8 to 10. So my junior year of high school, I the summer before is when I was listening to an Adam Sandler song, the shampoo bottle one and Up the Ass, and in the car, did not remember anything about my cousins, and it all flooded back to me. All of it. Just after like 6 years, didn't think of it. It all came back. And my older cousin was now over the age of 18, so and it had been out of 5 years. So they were like, "We can't do anything." The cops were like, "Yeah, whatever, we can't do anything." But my younger cousin, who's 2 years younger than me, was about to start at the same high school I was. So, little did I know how not awesome my dad is. Believe me, my mom tried to tell me. She did. She has tried to tell me. But at that point in my life, I'm 15, 16, and I'm like, I've always wanted to have a relationship with my dad. I totally can do this. Like, I just want to move in with him. He's promising me to get a car. He's promising that he'll get me a laptop for school. He promised that he'll finally like pay for my boob job because, and y'all, I'm pausing there. It's not just like a 16-year-old wanting to get a boob job. My left breast never developed. I was named Loppy. So, like, there was a sincere reason why I wanted a boob job that young. Okay. Anyway, moving past that. I did not know the type of or believe the type of manipulation and abuse that I would be walking into. When my parents were together, my mom was majority of the buffer, and they were together until I was 12. So it'd been 4 years, and basically the 4 those 4 years I was avoiding my dad, and so this was all new to me, and I moved in, and he took off the facade of this charismatic person. He loved mommy, that is the best way of explaining it, and when I got there, it was none of the promises he made came through, one excuse or the other. He started isolating me again, just like he did when I was a child. And I was very, very fortunate in the fact that the person I was dating and his friends were like, we're not giving up on Jen. Like, that's a bad area. So they would help me like sneak out on the weekends and help like come out and visit me, even though I was 45 minutes away. And I eventually said, "You know what? I'm out. I'm moving." And I just they all came and got my stuff, and I just was like, "I'm moving to back to Pocatello where I was living." And it was the beginning of my senior year at that point. My dad said, "Well, you're truant. You're gonna be arrested because of this because you're not going to school." And my boyfriend's at the time's grandmother was like, she can live with us. And she's like, I'll take power of attorney and take her, make sure she goes to school. Literally to this day, one of the sweetest women who made such a big difference in my life. I moved in with her and her grandson and we were very on again, off again. And probably by Thanksgiving. So beginning of senior year started probably August. So by Thanksgiving, we were done. And I thought that because he and I broke up, that I could not live with her. I honestly, sincerely thought because if somebody didn't want to be with me, other people wouldn't love me. And I didn't really have anywhere to go. Even though logically looking back, yes, I eventually figured it out. I moved back in with her and stopped this chaos. Yet, my senior year, I spent more time on in new beds than I did in my own car. I spent time becoming whoever anyone wanted me to be just to not have to sleep in my car that night. And it it was the type of thing that I don't remember a lot of my senior year. There was a lot of drinking, and I definitely was promiscuous. It was also the year I said no, and I got roofied. Luckily, the the guy I was dating, I apparently called him, and he was able to find out from many other people where I was, and I was on a counter in the bathroom with three guys trying to undress me. And not even a month later, I went out with my soon to be roommate, and she's a drinker and a partier, and she loved to sleep around. She would brag about it all the time. And I said no. And this guy kept trying to convince me, well, it'll be all right. It'll be fun. And I fell asleep and I woke up to him not listening to my no. And it's a really confusing time in the fact that I was sleeping with people to keep a roof over my head. And the two times I said no, people didn't listen. And it had a lot to do with why I couldn't comprehend why I could have stayed at my ex's grandmother's house. She didn't care. She just wanted to love me. And it was a really difficult time in my life that my dad to this day still hasn't kept any of his promises. Story for another day, but my mom came up to help me get my license. My mom helped me get my boob job so I could wear my dress for my senior prom. She also got me a laptop. And I know we talked about my mom in the previous episode, but she always tried to do what my dad promised and never went through with too. But yeah,
Some people it's not fit to be parents.
I
So,
agree. I agree.
um,
I thought I had a tissue box in here. Apparently I don't. That's okay.
we have time. You can pause to go get it. We can pause to go get it if you want.
Sweatshirt. I'm not you can keep this on the recording. I don't even care. Cause y'all, life is fucking messy. It's not pretty. It's not. I mean, yes, lots of life is beautiful. Yet if we don't talk about this shit, how are we gonna realize that we're not alone?
Yeah. Oh my God. A rough time in high school. You know, that's a lot to be going through. Then trying to focus on grades and everything like that. I'm so sorry all this happened to you. I'm excited for the boob job. You know, okay. And you know, it's so I heard you when you said that you did not need to be homeless, and that resonated with me because I feel the same way when I look back over when I was homeless, in Houston. And so, I had friends, I was, a veteran, but I didn't know about veterans programs at all.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't going to the VA for anything because in those days they were a nightmare. And And so sometimes I think about that and I go, what was the difference? It was in my mind and the way I perceived things.
Mhm.
So I could have called my parents to come and get me. I mean, I did not have to do that, but I thought I was dying anyway. And so what are Jen and I saying telling to you all is to be mindful of your perspective when negative things happen. And
Exactly.
sometimes when you think you're thinking straight, you're really not thinking straight, especially right after something bad has happened, or even if it's a while after something bad has happened and you don't have that shit resolved. So then what can you do? Jen's gonna give you her suggestion. My suggestion is to have somebody who you lean on or somebody who you can at least go to and be like, bitch, I'm fucking up. I don't think I'm thinking straight. I need to bounce this idea off of you and be sure. I don't know, what would you suggest if somebody is in that situation?
I definitely agree, and I've heard the term, like, a lot or to, like, keep a journal, and I'm like, "Bitch, I'm not gonna keep a journal. Fuck that." Like, I hate no, no. But I am cognizant of working on tracking my patterns, so whatever way you track your patterns. I say that in the fact of I'm currently job hunting, and I had a great day yesterday? I don't even remember what day it was. Like, I had interviews that were going great. I had a guest on the show that was phenomenal. Like, literally everything is going so good, and I'm miserable. Why am I miserable? I don't know. I have no idea why. I know because I keep track of these things that I do get depression. I am bipolar type 2. I am these things just happen. And I've learned that I need to be able to know, okay, am I just going to check out and sit and play video games? Is that's what's going to help me get through this? Is it I need to go for a walk? Is it I need to have call one of my best friends? Is it I need to tell Tyler that I need all the cuddles in the world? What is it that I need to get through this? Because right now I feel alone, even though logic shows me I'm not alone. And it's very, very difficult to realize that. And I would say a big step of it is just tracking your patterns because that will show you who am I happy around? Are these people that I'm associating with, am I miserable around them or am I happy around them? Do I feel like shit when I eat this certain food? It's weird. I found out that I am gluten intolerant. Like I can eat gluten, but y'all, it fucks with me. So I know not to eat gluten. How do I feel if I don't exercise for a while? Does it really help or is it just because I want to do it because everybody else says it? Like what are things how how do I do life naturally? And what are things that I want to improve on or what are things that I'm like, fuck it. I am a sweetaholic. So I'm going to keep dark chocolate chips in the house instead of candy because if it's candy, it'll be gone in a day. That's just who I am. I can live with that.
I'm a sweetaholic too, and I there's a basket I keep in the corner of the by the patio door that I found that if I just throw all the sweet shit in there, I won't go and reach for it like it was in the pantry or somewhere like eye level. So this is down on like cat level. And so so it's easy for me to
All right.
forget about it. And then so every now and then I'll remember, oh, there's a bucket of sweets over there. That way I don't feel deprived, but I've also placed it out of conscious reach of myself.
I like it. I like it. I'm
'Cause
gonna do that.
'Cause I'll eat that.
I'll try it. Well, I'll see if that happens. And that's another that actually brings up a really good point is once you find out these patterns, or even if you're not sure what they are, just trying something on, seeing if it works. Like, I have no idea if what you said is going to work for me, putting it in the corner. Like, I can be like, oh, Davina was right. This is like perfect. Or this is shit. It doesn't work for me. I'm not going to do it anymore. But I tried it on to see if it's a tool that will work for me.
And would you suggest that sort of strategy with dealing with all of the issues that you've talked about today? You know, what if somebody has a barrage of negativity that their mind had closed off, you know, shut off the memory because of it was so traumatic that their brain cut it off for them? And what if it comes back? What if they find themselves in a rape situation? You know, do you recommend these sort of tools or what?
That one, I think,
I mean, of course, they can always reach out to you. You know, through the website and everything.
yeah, no,
Absolutely.
it's the fact of dealing with PTSD. And I know that so many people thought that it was only military that went through it. And I do not want to take away from what our veterans have gone through, any force, because even if you don't get shipped abroad, the military goes through some dark shit just through boot camp. And PTSD can affect us all, and it's post traumatic stress disorder. And I say that as I did not realize I had PTSD until I had my brain surgery because that's when all my like memories flooded back and I started having a lot more body reactions in the fact of you bring up the rape victim. I the majority of my abuse was from people I trusted when from the ages of 8 to 10. And so if somebody that I trust tries to touch me at times, I go into fight or flight. It's very fucking annoying, and I'm still working through it. Yet by going to therapy, by going to group help, those are things that really help me get through it. It's also something that is not gonna go away anytime soon, probably. Or it might go away for a while and it might come back because mental health is like, it's not linear. It likes to be all over. And I would say just if it happens, especially if it happens in public, if it happens when you're driving, if it happens in those type of situations, first, please get yourself to safety. Please try to think about that first, no matter what is happening. It's not always possible to do this, yet please get to safety. And then who cares what the fuck you look like? If you're pulled over somewhere safe and having a meltdown, if you're in the middle of a grocery store having a meltdown, who the fuck cares? If you are safe, nobody's going to hit you, nobody's going to run into you, nobody's going to do anything to you. This is not always feasible though. This can happen when you're doing other things. And I don't know the resources to that. I'm happy to go look it up, but this is why I highly suggest at least having a relationship with a therapist you trust because I stopped going to therapy, oh goodness, probably January this year. And but I still have my therapist number. So if shit hits the fan, if something happens, I can be like, yo, therapist, I need help. Or my family members know, I don't know what the fuck just happened to Jen. She just like melted. Could you come like put her back together, please?
Yes, come and put me back together, Lord Jesus. Yes. So I would also recommend journaling, and all your suggestions are phenomenal and so heartfelt, and I appreciate the fuck out of them. And again, people can still reach out to you and see what can be done, see what can happen. I've started doing MDMA assisted therapy with a social worker and also psilocybin therapy with a social worker for like my PTSD, OCD, anxiety, and all of that. I recommend some of this hallucinogenic therapy to y'all because the drugs they prescribe us in these clinics for me react very negatively with my system that I get from like psychiatrists and shit like that. The hallucinogenics I've had a more positive results with. And so I walk away from them. Like when I've been on those trips, I don't feel like so out of body. My mind was just still. And for me, that is a strong deliverance because my mind is usually not still. And so that quietness followed me out of the therapy. And it's the same thing with me and like CBD gummies because my body doesn't react to smoking weed at all, no matter the strain. But it does respond to the gummies. And so I take it as like a form of therapy. And I find that the quietness, my mind remembers it when I'm no longer under the influence of the drug.
I want to add to that too, in the fact that, as we were saying before, do what finds best for you. I'm bipolar type 2, which I found out is like if I take drugs, it doesn't fuck me up in a good way. It fucks with my head bad. And so if I smoke weed, I'm probably crying in the bathtub. It's not cool. Like I've talked to multiple psychiatrists and I'm like, so I kind of want to do LSD. And they're like, please don't. It's just going to not in the fact of like, please don't in the fact that, all this is experimental, but because they're like, studies show that if you're bipolar, type 1 or type 2, you have adverse effects to drugs because your brain already, the chemistry in it will not react properly like most people do. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense because I've tried different things and it fucks with me. Where talked about that you don't take the medications that a psychiatrist may prescribe, those help me. But I know that they can fuck up other people. So please try and like have a a buddy. I don't to go like make sure you're doing okay no matter which one you're trying.
Preach it, sister. And so I heard you mention you mentioned earlier, like it really, really hurt you because the people you trusted were some of the ones who had turned on you. And I just want to just pivot for just another quick pivot and just send heartfelt warmth and love for people who feel that way towards the church. We're not going to go down a whole religious thing because we did that on the last show and I appreciated it deliciously and delightfully. So, because, we go to churches and I was thinking about this earlier, the only time we saw Jesus like get up in arms, he tied that cord together and went in the temple and ran the people out who were like taking advantage of people, in the house of God. And I was thinking, he didn't go chasing down homosexuals or women who want abortions, and he didn't even much go chase the people who were swindlers and cheaters outside of the church. He went into the church because it's bad enough that it's happening, but in a place like that where it's not supposed to happen is like the thing I think that really pissed him off. And so whenever we are expecting love from a place where it's supposed to come and we get hate, rejection, and pain, it's a more bitter pill to swallow. And so for all of you who have ever been heartbroken by somebody who you expected to treat you right, I'm sorry. I send you love and peace. And yes, fuck you, Lakewood Church, because you were the ones who broke my heart and did that shit to me after our long relationship with each other. You mentioned that brain surgery. Tell me why you had to have brain surgery.
Sure. So I think going through all my surgeries might make a bit more sense. I
Mhm.
am 2022. I am 34 and I had surgery number 10 this year. So, me and surgery is not that scary. Let's see if I can remember all of I don't know if I can do them in order. Maybe I can. Okay. We're going to see if I can do this. All right. So, sh- nope. When I was little kid, I got tubes in my ears, which I didn't know is considered a surgery, but I guess it is. So I'm going to count it. And then when I was 13, I was getting chronic bronchitis and they were noticing that my tonsils were causing it, but it's very, very dangerous to take out your tonsils when you have any lung infections. So, but I wasn't going to get better because I'm hardcore asthmatic. And they did it and I coded, which is a really weird experience because I like remember looking down at myself. It's very bizarre. Anyway, so that happened. I had my tonsils taken out and then I had my gallbladder taken out. And then I had my first boob surgery when I was 17. And then I had an umbilical hernia, which basically, because I got my gallbladder out through my belly button, the scar tissue caused a hernia on where my umbilical cord would have been with my belly button. So that's why it's called an umbilical hernia. And it didn't go through. So I got another surgery for that. Oh, I'm missing one. They couldn't pull my teeth with me awake for my wisdom teeth. So they had to sedate me for it, like all the way out sedated. Two, what, what else am I thinking of? Oh, sinus and nose surgery because I couldn't breathe out of my nose, brain surgery, and another boob job because it wasn't very good at when I was 17. So I finally got them nice. 10. Yeah. So brain surgery was 2020, not the biggest deal. Me and going to surgery is not a big deal. I'm just like, oh, I have to have another. Okay, whatever. I've grown up around doctors' offices because I was such a sick child. I was constantly hospitalized for my asthma and I got pneumonia a lot and bronchitis a lot. I was a really fun kid. And it was around the age of 3 to 4 that my skull started forming a bump on my right temple. And my mom was like, "The fuck is going on with my daughter?" So we lived in Phoenix at the time, and she took me to the hospital. They did MRIs and CAT scans and all that, and they found that I had arachnoid cysts on my brain. And an arachnoid cyst is just like fluid. It's just like if you take a bubble and it's on my the arachnoid cyst is on the between the brain and the spider webbing around your brain. And so they found it when I was like 2 or 3. And they were like, "Yo, don't worry about it. Most children, if they get it, they don't really know where I got it from, but they're like, most children will grow out of it. Don't worry." So fast forward till I'm like 8th grade. So like 12, 13, and I'm in my mom's room for some reason. And I look in the mirror and I finally realize, like, why is my temple so weird? And I'm like staring at myself, like, what the fuck? Like, as like a 13-year-old, like, this was mind blowing. I didn't know what it was. But it didn't really ever affect me other than I was like, I have this out. It looks really weird. I hate it. Not a big deal. Very cosmetic, whatever. Around the age 20 something, like give or take a year or two, I started getting really, really bad pressure headaches where I would have to tie a scarf around my head, cut off circulation to everything else, and like try to get rid of the pressure on my right temple. That happened a few times every year, maybe. Like, not consistent enough to do anything about it or be concerned. I just thought, I have all these medical conditions. I'm just probably a freak, and it's another one of those things. I don't care. And in 2020, it started happening weekly. Okay, this is weird, and you can't really do anything. Like, you can't work, you can't do much. And I was getting to the point where I had like this giant jar of change that I would lay down on the bed with my head on the pillow and put change on my head to put like enough weight on it to try to get rid of the pressure. And I'm like, okay, I got to get this taken care of. Like, this is like causing issues. And I'm like, okay, I'll make an appointment, blah blah blah. I made an appointment with a neurologist, and they're like, "Yo, bro, try taking these like migraine medicines." Okay. Didn't fix it whatsoever. And then they were like, "Don't worry about it. It's fine. Arachnoid cysts are nothing. Don't worry." And so this is when my sister started working with me, and we're driving to work together. And I'm driving and I have to pull over because my vision went away and I couldn't see. All I could like, it was just like went all black, and the pressure was so bad. Like, I'm crying because it's just hurting so bad. So she finishes driving us to work, and my partner came to pick me up because she needed to stay and work. And they finally were like, "Okay, cool, you can go see a surgeon." Well, I'm back in Phoenix at this point, and the same Barrow brain surgeons are in Phoenix. They're super dope. Highly suggest them. I bring in my records to them because I still have the records, which, oh yeah, give me a second. You want to see this? This is cool. Okay. I have the original scan from when I was a kid. Let's see. I don't know how I'm going to do this.
You'd probably have to have a light behind it.
I know. I'm like trying to think if I can do
I like your stuff.
like like this. Let me turn on my flashlight, bro.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
yeah. Okay, so oh, see, you can see where my eyeballs are, right?
Yeah.
And you see that giant,
That big thing?
yeah, and then you can see one in the back of my head too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, these are from when I was a kid.
Okay, and they just, like, left that there?
Yeah, because normally they go away naturally. Normally a cyst is like no big deal. So That's the one that's still there. It's actually grown. And so I get so excited. I bring these into the neurologist or the neurosurgeon with me. And I'm like, look. And they're like, we're not going to do anything about it. No, no, like it'll just go away. This isn't normal. Like, or these are routine things. No big deal. So they go and they're like, hey, go get lidocaine shots, see if that helps. So I have to wait until one of these things randomly go. Then I have to go into the doctor and get a lidocaine shot, which is just numbing serum. And so they put a ton of lidocaine, and I'm like, it's not going away. And so it's not the pain at this point that's hurting. Like, yes, it hurts, but I'm crying because they can't figure it out. And at this point, I'm thinking, no one will believe me. So I think I'm stuck with this for the rest of my life. But after further, they actually took it to like the board of surgeons at the hospital, and they were like, yo, like this isn't normal that she gets headaches from this. Like she's going through so much. So they did a experimental surgery. What they did is if you think of a lake and then you think of this like random brain fluid as my river as a river, they took my lake of a cyst and created a scar tunnel into the regular like brain fluid that just chills in your brain. So as of it's about 2 years now, it'll be 2 years on November 2nd. I've had less than half a dozen headaches from it again. So it seems to be working. But that area, what they didn't know, and there's not a lot of research on it, is that having surgery there, because all of your long-term memories are right around your right temple, like a little bit behind, and that is where they cut into me and they had to do the surgery. So, yeah, it was like, "Hey, you're gonna have brain surgery, but you're also gonna have to remember all the fucking shit you ever went through." And yeah, that was fun.
Are you glad that the memories were released to the extent that you are able to work on processing through it, or would you have rather it stayed hidden?
It's like when people say that they're grateful for what they went through because it makes them who they are.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with that, but I never wanted to go through all this shit, you know? Like, it's not like I wanted all of that to happen. So it's like both. Like, I think if I didn't remember all of it, I would have been ignorance is bliss. But because I did go through all of it, I also found my voice to be able to advocate for others. And that is more important to me. Yet it took me realizing what I went through to be able to find the strength to do it. Yet my ignorant is bliss side of me would have been totally fine not realizing that my entire life. So it's like I like the harder path. I normally choose it, not meaning to, because I'm very stubborn. But so it it happened. It worked out.
I appreciate it. That's a positive perspective overall. I encourage everyone to try their best to find something good out of whatever it is that you went through. I agree with you in terms of my own history. Had there been another way, Lord, but it didn't go that way. So, fuck it, here we are. Let's move on. Hallelujah, tabernacle and praise. No sense in staying bitter and adding to the
Yep.
problems that are already there.
Yep.
So so you mentioned something that we're going to pivot as we begin to wrap up here. Y'all, this bitch has probably the best TikTok channel that I've ever like swooned over her outfit. She has on the sequins and the glitter and the glam. It's just so colorful and so encouraging and it's so inspiring. And I mean, ugh, it's like on your TikTok channel, you look like God extracted all of the pride spirit from every gay person in the world and just like put it in you, and then you're the living manifestation of what it means to just be happy and accepting. So,
Thank you, and I will say part of that was the person that was marketing and just being able to read what I wanted to do. Like, she gave me the topic, but I was able to know how to make it happen. I those videos are old because I haven't posted on TikTok or Instagram. The podcast is kind of on pause because I don't know how to do that myself. Like, if somebody says, "Jen," like, it was and I hate that I didn't know this, that it was National Indigenous Day recently, and I was like, "W Why did I not know that? Why did I not know that we changed laws from Columbus Day to be National Indigenous Day? Why are we not making it better known?" And I also you mentioned about how I post about Juneteenth, and I am very proud of that post. Yet at the same time, I'm very disappointed in myself that I didn't make a post for Hispanic Heritage Month or for Indigenous Peoples Day. But I also have to, even though I'm disappointed, I have to be able to say, "Jen, you're one person. You're only one person. Yes, I can make a difference. I also only have people have said spoons in the mental health area. I only have so much bandwidth. I only have so much that I can give. And if I half-ass any everything, people aren't gonna get what they deserve, and that's why I've put everything on pause. Now, if anybody wants to help me on social media, you are welcome into my life. I'm just gonna put that out there. Someone wants to come into my life and help on social media. That's basically I just need someone to be like, "Jen, post this." Like, get the ideas out of my head and help me. I need somebody to hold my hand. But I appreciate where you were going with that. I just wanted to almost it's almost like self-deprecating where I'm like, I have to call myself out on that because I I do still feel that disappointment in myself.
well, I mean, you already said it. You're only one person. I'll add to that that you cannot necessarily stand up for every group of people all the time, and perhaps it's not meant for you to. So whatever was meant to happen did happen. Wherever wasn't, didn't. And the beautiful thing about social media, podcasting, writing books, those things are evergreen in the sense that even though those videos might be old, they can still have a positive influence on somebody today, which is one of the main reasons why we do what we do because, social media work, podcasting is like a living testimony. When we're dead and gone, people can still go back and find this. And it won't matter how old it is. What they're going to be concerned about is can I relate to this and can it help me? And what we're going through now is the same thing some people went through before, the same thing people are going to go through after. So give yourself a break, girlfriend. You doing the damn thing on. And so,
Thank you. Thank you.
and so shout out to Cardi B. Yes, I love her. And so she has an incredible so I think social media is great, I don't care. I don't think I
Thank
even
you.
noticed that it was outdated because it was so captivating. It was so captivating. I was just so intrigued. And so, and one of them though, you were talking about like anxiety and depression, and you mentioned just a few seconds ago about how you everything was going great when you were searching for the job and everything, but you were still sad. A person who's super close to me in my life gets that way sometimes. I get that way very, very rarely. And when I do, there's a scripture in the book of Psalms where David, I believe, is talking and he's having one of those types of days. And he's all like, why are you cast down, my soul? And why are you disquieted within me? He was like, yeah, I'm sad, but I don't know why I feel sad.
Yeah.
That's how I found it in the scripture. I know not everybody is spiritual and scriptural, like I am, but it really, really sparked with me when you mentioned that because sometimes our emotions betray our reality.
Mhm.
Either way, a person can be manic and shit can just be like really terrible and they could be overly optimistic. And I'm all like, no, girl, this is serious. You need to calm down and deal with this shit. And then on the other hand, everything is great. And yet they're sad with the blinds closed and under the covers. So,
It's it's definitely something that I posted it because first off, it fucking sucks. Anxiety attacks, depression, being bipolar type 2, being bipolar, like mental health struggles are not talked about and accepted enough. And I do want to mention that I want to talk about my own struggles. Yes, I do also want to call out that systemically there are marginalized communities that have to deal with mental health issues even more because of microaggressions and things that a white folk don't necessarily deal with. And I I want to call that out because that is something that many people won't acknowledge that they're going through something because they see it as racist from others, that that's the emotion that's coming up is because of I say that because anxiety and depression and anything that has changes our moods without our desire to PTSD, we they're not our friend. They really, as we were talking earlier, really cause us to think things that are untrue. And it can be, yes, exercise and diet can help. Other people do have success with that. Some people don't. Some people need experimental drugs. Some people need prescribed drugs. Some people need therapy. Some people need journaling. Some people need kickboxing and boxing to be able to beat the shit out of something. It's different for all of us. And I want others to see that they're not alone going through it because I I don't remember what I said in that post because I was crying. It was fun. But it was where we we don't expect it. So what do we do when it happens? How do we prepare ourselves if it happens? How do we have these conversations if I am having a panic attack and Devannon, I call you. What do you do? Like, what are you supposed to do? That's not something that's taught in school. If I'm having a panic attack, like that's not something that if I'm becoming having coping mechanisms that are unhealthy, such as self harm, that friendships or family is taught to deal with. And this is really why I want to share these journeys because show that it happens before it may happen, but also be able to have people go, oh shit, I went through that like a year ago. Maybe I should go look into getting help or resources or build our tool belts because without it, we're kind of just a hot fucking mess in the fact that this is when bad situations happen, in my opinion.
hey, I think your opinion is a golden opinion, and I encourage everyone to listen to your opinion. I commend you on caring enough to make a Juneteenth video like you did, and she also has an ally video because Jen is a friend of the gays, darling. Yes, indeed. Expect her to find her at any of your prides. You never know where she might end up next. So,
It's true. I want to go to all the prides. I really want to go to Atlanta. That is where I hope I get to go next year. I feel like that would be
you
fun.
know what? Whenever you want to plan it, my boyfriend is from outside of Atlanta, so I'll be in Atlanta like a lot.
Yay.
And then I just heard that they have an ayahuasca retreat thing outside of Atlanta, and so that's one of my next things to try for therapy, and so, yes, we can definitely plan an Atlanta Pride because their Pride's, like, happens in October. They wait till
Mm.
not in June,
Oh,
and
yay.
so that was that pretty much wraps us up. I wanted to do this deeper dive with you. I thank you for your transparency. The website is www.shit the number two talkabout.com. She has a link tree. Also, shit you talk about. And all of this will go in the show notes. The podcast is shit you don't want to talk about with the great hostess, Jenn Junod, as I say in my Parisian accent. And so, my dear, if there's anything you'd like to say to the world, any last words, closing comments, remarks, salutations, whatever, go ahead.
I do. And that is beautiful humans, as shitty as it is, you'll get through this and you got this. It's not the end of the world, no matter how much it seems it is. Because, y'all, we're just a few of the people that can tell you that you can get through it. We've been through some shit. But it's also, you don't have to go through it like we said. There's other ways too.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on the show, my girl. You wrapped it up nicely. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you all so much for taking time to listen to the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast. It really means everything to me. Look, if you love the show, you can find more information and resources at sexdrugsandjesus.com or wherever you listen to your podcast. Feel free to reach out to me directly at Devanin at sexdrugsandjesus.com and on Twitter and Facebook as well. My name is Devanin. It's been wonderful being your host today. And just remember that everything is going to be all right.